Watchers, first in our DC studio we have Dr. David Grinspoon. He is a senior scientist with the Planetary Science Institute in Arizona and also a columnist for Sky and Telescope magazine. The challenges that these astronauts are facing.
I don't think people really have a sense of what it is like to go and spend long periods of time in space. I think, we get a lot of our imagery, say, from Hollywood movies, that kind of gloss over a lot of that.
You just see astronauts floating around. It looks like a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, and even when they focus on, you think of a movie like Gravity that does focus on some of the dangers and the things that can go wrong, which is, one of the challenges, obviously. But there's also just the day-to-day or month-to-month, or in this case, almost year-to-year challenge of adaptation to that environment, which is not our natural environment. I mean, we evolved for 4 billion years on the surface of a planet. And there are a lot of ways in which we are very, very well evolved for this surface environment, and ways in which we're not aware of until we extract ourselves from it. And some of that we can take with us, the pressure of the air, the oxygen and so forth. But gravity is something that's very hard to do artificially. In fact, there are ways on a large space station you could spin it and sort of do artificial gravity, but on something the size of the International Space Station, there's no way to do artificial gravity. And so it's really interesting to see what they're learning about all these aspects of our own selves, our own physiology that we take for granted, that don't work in the right way once we take ourselves out of that gravitational field. The people that have actually been up in orbit have this very profound sense that it changes them, and the view of Earth is so important. And even we heard this sentiment about if the world's leaders could go into space, they would that conflict would be resolved. People sometimes call it the overview effect. But part of the problem is there's a very small number of people that have experienced that. But in a certain way now, with social media and with the kind of artful broadcasting that people like Scott Kelly, really especially Scott Kelly, is doing, that everyone's participating in that. And I think that's really positive, and sort of help solve that problem of, there's going to be a long time before a lot of us get to go into space. But there's a very real way in which we're all getting to experience an important part of that.
See these photos. I mean, one of the comments that I was struck by on Instagram, somebody said, when is the coffee table book coming out? And that's not something you hear a lot about scientific endeavors. So it really is helping to connect that and show a new light.
Yeah, I mean, this planet is so beautiful. And a lot of us went into planetary science, which is my field, because we're inspired by that, and we want to understand it. And people think of science as sort of cold and clinical, and maybe aspects of it are. But I love this Earth art project, because to me it kind of connects all that back to the original sense of wonder and just appreciation of the beauty that motivates a lot of the science in the first place.